I think we are going to win off of burn down the house. Just don't concede before I pull this off, please. Alright, let me do this really fast so that he doesn't have a chance to concede. Alright, burn down the house, kills his 2 creatures, 2 triggers off the Archfiend, and that is game. Nice. Good game.
So I've got a little bit of a sickness, and that sickness entails finding fun legendary creatures and trying to build a deck out of them in Standard and forcing it to work. So today, I've got Rakdos. Not the guild, the demon. Rakdos Control featuring Rakdos. This deck is going to control the board early, get yourself a nice, sustained level of play, and then you're going to drop a fat demon on the table and crush your opponent into a fine paste with it. So let's go take a look at the deck and see what we got.
Alright, so here we are. This is the deck. This is a Rakdos control deck featuring the main man himself, Rakdos, Patron of Chaos. So, the way this deck operates is pretty straightforward. It is your typical control build. You've got Cut Down, you've got Sheoldred's Edict, Brotherhood's End, you have Burn Down the House, you have Push Pull, which operates as either a removal spell or as a Sucker Punch reanimation tool. Then you have Trumpet Carnosaur, which has the ability to pay 2 a red and discard this card to deal 3 damage to a creature or a planeswalker. Now you got all of that on top of the fact that you have Rakdos here. Rakdos has a very cool ability. An ability that you most likely will almost never see. Because it's a May effect. Let me read this out. So, for 6 mana, you get a 6/6 flying, trampling demon. And it reads, at the beginning of your end step, target opponent may sacrifice 2 non-land, non-token permanents. If they don't, you draw 2 cards. So typically, when you have Rakdos on the table and you've been clearing the board every turn, your opponent won't have a whole lot of things to sacrifice to Rakdos. So you're going to default into receiving a draw 2 at the end of your turn, almost every turn that Rakdos is out. A lot of the times, when your opponent does have things that they could sacrifice to Rakdos, they will choose not to and just let you draw cards anyways. So Rakdos really is just a hand refill engine when you just kind of boil it down. Outside of that, though, we are running a very fun combo of Archfiend of the Dross with board wipes in the forms of Brotherhood's End and Burn Down the House. Now, reason why this works so well is because of this last part on Archfiend of the Dross that reads, whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, its controller loses 2 life. And when you pair that with damage-based removal, not cards that say destroy all creatures. This deals 3 to all creatures, this deals 5 to all creatures. Archfiend of the Dross is big enough to survive either of those spells. So this will leave Archfiend on the table and clear the board of any other pesky creatures that your opponent might be playing. So you can stack up like 3, sometimes 4 triggers of your opponent loses 2 life when you resolve a Brotherhood's End or a Burn Down the House. Aside from that, we are running a few value cards. One being the Greedy Freebooter. This is a fantastic 1-drop even for a control deck, because when this dies, you could descry 1 and create a treasure token, which will help you get to your bigger spells that much faster. Aside from that, you have the Celestus. The Celestus is a great mana ramping tool because of its ability to draw you cards and gain you life when night turns to day or day turns to night. Then there's 3 copies of the Big Score. As an additional cost to cast this spell, discard a card, draw 2 cards, and create 2 treasure tokens. So this is a fantastic tool because it's an instant, meaning when you're just having a little game of pass back with your opponent, and your opponent isn't doing anything on their turns, you can just end on the end of their turn, cast Big Score to get a little bit of value, and also ramp yourself up with treasure tokens so you can cast your big spells. And then we have the Trumpeting Carnosaur. Trumpeting Carnosaur is a 7/6. When it comes into play, you get to discover 5. And 5 means 5 mana. That means anything else in your deck aside from Rakdos. So if you were to utilize Pull and you happen to have 2 of these in your graveyard, you can pull both of them into play, and both of them will have a Discover 5 trigger that goes off immediately. And then you can swing for 14 with 2 Trumpeting Carnosaurs that trample. It's a pretty good deal, a deal that I heartily endorse. It's a very fun play. It's a rare play, but it is a very fun play once you get it off. So that's the bulk of the main deck here. Lands-wise, you got Swamps, Takenuma, Mountains, Sokonzon. We have 4 Blackcleave Cliffs, 2 Haunted Ridge, 4 Restless Vaults, and 4 Sulphurous Springs. The Restless Vaults, being a manland, becomes very relevant very often with this deck, because sometimes you just need a little extra damage, and having the Restless Vents there kind of supplies that. Especially in a deck where you're wiping the board fairly often and spending the rest of your mana trying to keep the board clean. Having a Restless Vents able to attack with Menace and also drawing you cards, it's a pretty good value. I like it a lot. So there you go. That's the deck. It is Rakdos control. Control the board, play big fat demons, win the game. So let's go do it. Okay, so what are we looking at here? We got 3 lands, a push-pull, 2 greedy freebooters, and a Trumpeting Carnosaur. So we got a little bit of removal, and a little bit of dirty ramp here in the form of the greedy freebooters. So we'll keep it. Okay, so opponent plays a Jetmir's Garden. So at the very least, it's a Naya deck, or it could be a Domain deck. Very likely Domain, though. Armored Scrap Gorger and a Cavern Swamp. Okay, so it's a Caverns deck. That's simple enough. Alright, no attacks. We're gonna have to remove that Scrap Gorger before we start putting stuff into the graveyard, though. I'll play that. Yeah, let's go ahead and do this. Oh, that sucks that it puts the Trumpeting Carnosaur into the graveyard before it triggers and kills it. I don't like that at all. Alright. Well, at least you get to attack. So, well, that's a lesson for the future at least. Alright, land. Let's animate the Restless Vents. Then we'll attack for 4. And we will discard... Honestly, we'll discard Push and Pull now. Just don't really need that with nothing in the graveyard. Got a Restless Vinestock, yeah. So I think it looks like all colors. Yeah, I think we've seen every color represented at least. I did not animate the Restless Vents because I want to keep the mana open for cut down and also big score at the end of turn. Pass. Alright, so cool. They didn't do anything, so we're going to cast big score, discarding the Sulphurous Springs. Draw 2. Alright, my turn. Okay. Play that. Next. Attack for 2. And we'll play a Archfiend of the Dross. You know, I get the feeling sometimes that the matchmaking system purposefully takes into account the deck that you're building when pairing you up against people. Because this deck is specifically built for beating up aggro, and I cannot queue into aggro for any reason. It gives me control decks, it gives me mid-range, it gives me weird domain decks like that. It doesn't give me what I want. Okay, so we're looking at a Restless Vents, a Swamp, a Mountain, a Greedy Freebooter, a Celestis, Archfiend of the Dross, and Trumpeting Carnosaur. So, looks decent. I can cast my spells. I'll keep it. Alright, so opponent goes first and has taken 1 mulligan, so I think I'll keep this. Alright, so we're up against white-blue control. So let's go and play the Greedy Freebooter first. It's a cool looking animal. Oh. Sunset Revelry. Okay. Interesting choice. Alright, in that case, I'm going to not cast, I will play the Restless Vents and say no attacks. Let you attack into me. Celestusy. I got one of those. Yeah, that's what I thought. Alright, let's go and play the Haunted Ridge, and we'll play our own Celestus. No attacks. We're just going to stare at each other for a while. Play a Gonjo into a Jace.
I'll take note of all your failures.
Okay, you're just going to mill me.
I will
Sweet.
shatter your mind.
What did you put in my yard? 1 push-pull, 2 push-pull. I got some demons down there. Alright. Let's see here. Well, next up. Next. Attack old Jace to force you to block. Send that downwind. I got plenty of lands already. Don't play that. And we'll play Archfiend of the Dross. End turn. As I figured. Pass. Alright, end of turn. Make you sacrifice your Planeswalker. Alright, my turn. Sulphurous Springs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not quite there with the Trumpeting Carnosaur yet. So we'll play an Archfiend. Show me a Sunfall. Do you have Sunfall? Anything? You got 3 cards in your hand. A Celestis that you can't utilize right now because it's daytime, not nighttime. You can animate a manland. Potentially make a map token. Oh, invasion. Oh, that's perfect. Okay. Well, in that case, let's go ahead and play this swamp. And then we'll play this Trumpeting Carnosaur. Get a Discover 5 off of it. Oh, look, it's Brotherhood's End. Just what I needed. Let's deal 3 to everything. So you're going to take 6 damage from the Archfiend, and now an additional 6. You go to 9. Now I'm fully expecting a board wiper right now. Okay, I'm just going to use Field of Ruin on my Restless Vents. That's totally fine. So I will go get a mountain for my troubles. Thank you very much. The Field of Ruin and Demolition Fields are really, really strong right now because every color pair has a manland. Oh, I guess he didn't have anything to do. I'll take the win. All right, so we've got 2 lands, but we've got a lot of early game play. So we could potentially ride this removal into the mid game. So let's give it a shot. It's a risky play, but we'll find out. All right. Forest into Commune with Spirits. So this is probably enchantments. Reveal an enchantment or land card. They revealed neither. Okay. So I will start with the Blackcleave Cliffs. That way I can cast Cut Down this turn. Next turn we'll probably go into Restless Fence. Okay, instead, we're going to go with Mountain, because I want to be able to cast Sheldra's Edict. Alright, Gall Graders. Alright, they play a 3rd land. Do they do anything with that mana? They attempt to cast Audacity. I will make them sacrifice the creature. That way Audacity fizzles, and they do not get the chance to draw off of that. Ah, it's the Palooka. Resolve. Pass. Alright, end of turn. Sacrifice a non-token creature. You know, they might get frustrated with us and quit before we even get to the good stuff. Let's find out. Loaded Contaminator. Okay. Play the Blackcleave. Activate the Restless Fence. Since it has Menache. We'll get rid of the Cut Down. Okay. Alright. Now, provided they don't deal with the Archfiend in the next 2 turns, I think we might have this. A Blast Zone. I haven't seen that in a long time. Let's see what they do. They put up to 1 counter. Now they're going to proliferate, adding another counter to Blast Zone, I'm assuming. But that also depends on what they're worried about me playing. They know that I'm in red-black, so they might be anticipating some 2-drops. But there's no 2-drops in this deck. The only 2-drops in here are removal spells. But they don't know that. They might be expecting some kind of like mid-range vampire nonsense. But however, they are thinking about that pretty bad. Oh, they gave us a counter. Thank you. I appreciate you. Alright, in that case, let's see. We're at 16. I don't think we're at any risk of dying anytime soon. So let's animate and attack again. And I will choose to not discard. Instead, I will play a Greedy Freebooter. Alright, here it is, moment of truth. Either you have the removal or you don't. Augur of Autumn. I'm thinking they don't. And they tapped all their green to get that into play. Yeah, I will definitely block. Okay, so I think we are going to win off of Burn Down the House. Keep that right there, that's fine. Just don't concede before I pull this off, please. Okay, he's going to proliferate. He doesn't have the mana to blow that, though. me do this really fast so that he doesn't have a chance to concede. Alright, burn down the house, kills his 2 creatures, 2 triggers off the Archfiend, and that is game. Nice. Good game. And a rank up. How do you like that? Alright, and we are back with the post-game wrap-up for this deck, and I do have a few thoughts. Greedy Freebooter is fantastic when your opponent is trying to win by beating you up, meaning aggro, meaning mid-range. Is a fantastic blocker, gets you a lot of value. Against control matchups or opposing ramp matchups, lands, dominion, that kind of deck, it's pretty lame because your opponent's never going to kill it, and you don't really have a reliable way to kill it yourself. So that might be something to consider going forward, maybe just removing that altogether for a better draw option. But I'm a little on the fence about it, just because it does such a great job against early aggro decks that I kind of want to keep it. The removal package is solid. It's really good. The only thing we're really missing is like a good direct targeted removal spell. Think along the lines of Go for the Throat or Infernal Grasp. We do have Sacrifice, we have targeted kill for small stuff, we got ways to wipe the board, and we have a slow kill card that will kill a tapped creature. But oftentimes you kind of want to keep it so you can use it for its pull side. So, oh, and Trumpeting Carnosaur is another 3 damage to a creature or a planeswalker. So the removal is not really a problem. So, like, in most matchups, I don't really have issues finding the right removal. Sometimes finding the right removal at the right time, but the deck has so many varied ways of removing problematic permanents that I don't think it's that big of an issue. The Celestis is a total MVP for this deck. I call it that because it gains you life, it draws you cards, it supplies you with extra mana, and it also gives you a way to discard things like Trumpeting Carnosaur or Rakdos for a push-pull finisher. So very, very good card. I like the Celestis a whole lot. Big score, great for drawing cards. The typical way I find that this deck is winning is through this right here, Archfiend of the Dross. You almost never get the counters on this card low enough where you're afraid that you're going to lose, because of the fact that you are clearing the board often with Burn Down the House and Brotherhood's End. And this thing being able to apply extra damage when your opponent's creatures die, and this just being a 6/6 flying beater for only 4 mana. I mean, this is probably like the key of the deck right here. Like, this is what wins you so many games. That and pull. I cannot sing Pull's praises enough. This is such a fun, sucker punchery way to just steal a game. Like, your opponent thinks that, like, they have you like dead to rights and they're being overconfident. You just hit it with pull and pull 2 Trumpeting Carnosaurs out of your deck, or you pull a Rakdos and an Archfiend of the Dross, or you look in their graveyard and say, hey, I want that Atraxa. Why don't you give me that so I can hit you with it? It's such a fun play. I'm thinking of doing some other builds of this deck, something maybe a little bit more mid-range that could potentially utilize this even better. Maybe a mid-range Rakdos Sacrifice Shell with things like Voldaren Thrill Seeker or Braids or things like along those lines. So I think it'd be a really cool card to add to something like that. But anyways, there you go. That is the deck. You'll see by the games that we played today that the things that we end up playing the most, Greedy Freebooter, Archfiend, and honestly, the Restless Fence, actually ends up leading to more game wins than losses. This is actually very, very good mana land, especially because it has Menace. So there it is. That's the deck. If you want to give this deck a try yourself, there will be a link to the deck list in the description box down below. So there you go. Now that you've seen it, go play some games. Take care of yourselves.